This event is a very important opportunity. It's at the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the 1954 Convention at The Hague for protection of cultural heritage in the case of armed conflict. In Ukraine, within the framework of this convention, we have done several steps, working very closely and assisting the Ukrainian institutions, the ministries in setting up a better protection, but also very in terms of the convention. In particular, we have worked to prepare for the nomination, the dossiers that actually Ukraine has submitted to enhanced protection. 25 today are under enhanced protection by virtue of the second protocol, but also in very operational measures as prescribed in the convention. The convention is as prescribing to start in time of peace, but it's not only, and it's very important, so even more important to do it now in Ukraine, is really to work on emergency inventories, but in systemized inventories. And this is something that we have supported since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, specifically for in Kiev, but also in Odessa, in Lviv, and training and support of professionals in how to do this documentation, how to work for collection. First aid measures, but also in terms of how to protect monuments and sites. There is an important work that is done not only in terms of prevention, but also in terms of monitoring of condition, that it's covering a wide range of activities spanning from the labeling of building of cultural relevance with the emblem, the blue shield emblem of the 1954 Convention. For instance, in Odessa district, we have supported marking of more than 250 buildings. I mean, working for the support of government in the nomination and the designation. Today there are 25 sites under enhanced protection, as I mentioned. World Heritage sites, currently there are 3 World Heritage sites in Ukraine under not only the World Heritage list, but now are also inscribed since September, like Lviv and Kiev, under the list of World Heritage in danger, and joining Odessa World Heritage sites that has been inscribed in January 23 simultaneously on the World Heritage list, but also on the World Heritage list in danger. So operational aspects are that we have been supported the protection of monuments in open air space as preventive measures to reduce the possible impact of missile on and shelling on monuments in open air spaces. For instance, we did this in Odessa, but also all the documentation of damages that is done at different level. At a macro level, through the rapid damage and need assessment, where at today we have accounted for almost 3.5 billion US dollars in terms of cultural assets damaged, and for more than 19 billion of losses. And here losses, its collections is also losses, but also losses from wages, from salaries, from professionals actually, and tourism in Ukraine. In terms of needs in the next 10 years, we have calculated that almost 9 billion US dollars will be needed to recover the sector of culture throughout all its different domains, from museums, but also creative industries, physical buildings, cultural centers, and many others. So Beside this documentation, which is at macro level, we are working more detailed level with using Bayesian analysis on satellite imagery, and this allows us to document damaged sites that are also in occupied territories and territories that are not accessible because of the active conflict. Currently in this platform there are more than 400 sites verified through this methodology. This enables Ukraine to prioritize interventions, to plan for repairs, to understand the magnitude of and the dimension of damages. And beside this, UNESCO is supporting training, capacity buildings in a variety of domains. And today we have trained more than 1,600 professionals all across Ukraine, from museum professionals, architects, structural engineers, and taking care of this. But indeed, cultural heritage, it's not a domain which is cherished by few and by professionals. It's also people, it's community. So living heritage is an important domain. Yesterday we were together with the Minister of Culture and Minister of Education to celebrate the closing of a first pilot on introducing intangible cultural heritage and learning with intangible cultural heritage in education with the schools, that demonstrate how relevant is also intangible cultural heritage. All these traditional knowledge, cultural expressions are important not only for social ties, for communities, and how this practice is important for resilience of communities, especially in this difficult moment for IDPs, for communities that are displaced, to give a sense of normalcy and their belonging to communities and identities, but also in terms of how this can enhance quality of learning, self-confidence for young generation, for children in learning process. Many aspects are also related to support of artists, which is the vital role of culture, and in terms of supporting their livelihood to continue producing in this difficult moment. We are supporting residency for artists, in particular female artists, but also cultural projects through grants, and this is today we have been able to support 7 projects in 2023, 14 projects this year. And these projects are all across the country. So it's not, it's Kherson, Kharkiv, Dnipro, but Lviv, Kiev, Ivano-Frankivsk, and many other, Mykolaiv, and many other locations. So there is of course, this is a work that is started, is in process, but indeed the needs are very important, and we are committed to continue support also with all the other international partners supporting Ukraine. Maybe just to mention that recently, in beginning of June, the Ukraine, in collaboration at the invitation of Lithuania and in partnership with UNESCO, has hosted in Vilnius a conference, international conference for the recovery of Ukraine cultural sector, where many international partners were present, and the technical partners, and where recommendation and the action plan for the recovery of the cultural sector, a action plan led by Ukraine, has been endorsed, and the flagship initiatives and projects have been identified for the next years to support the country in this important, relevant work. Culture was also present for the first time at the Ukraine Recovery Conference this year, held in Berlin, where UNESCO was also part of this panel with Ukraine, represented not only by ministry but also by representative of museums, and but also with other important international partners and countries like Germany, Italy, which in a way already committed to support Ukraine, and close to many other partners like US, which is supporting USAID this specific initiative. And but in the international cooperation, international assistance for culture is really something that we are looking always to continue in supporting and facilitating coordination with the ministry, with Ukrainian, with the professionals for the benefit of the sector. Law, national legislation, it's a crucial topic indeed. The Committee for Humanitarian and Information Policy of the government, the parliament, has actually addressed UNESCO a request for technical assistance in revising, upgrading the cultural law. And this is a process that it's already started in close cooperation with the Ministry of Culture Information Policy. We have already initiated jointly in March a very first open conference for professionals, for cultural actors about the needs in terms of the law, to be the sectors that need more to be looked at. Our plan jointly with the Ministry and the Parliament is to operate at two levels. The first to complement and to complete an assessment, a cross-cutting over sectors, subdomains assessment of the status of legislation in the cultural domain. And based on that, to prepare a roadmap for looking at codification, the possibility of having a code in terms of protection of cultural heritage in the long term, but at the same time to start focusing on at least two priority domains where law are required, and to put as a target to have these two laws ready for draft laws, ready for discussion and possibly for submission already in February 25. This is a process that I mentioned three partners. I mentioned UNESCO, I mentioned the Ministry, I mentioned the Parliamentary Commission, but this is, of course, a process that has to be done, and it will be done in the more possible, as much as possible, inclusive manner. And it's important the contribution of all professionals and the actors in the domain. So this will also call for consultations and for open conference and opportunities for actors and citizens also to give their opinion and their voice. Certainly, this is, unfortunately, it's already a protracted now war. Since the full-scale invasion in February 22, we are already at more than actually 2 years now of war. And so there is indeed a very important and very complex situation in the domain also how to respond, to cope, because at the same time there is emergency measures that need continuously to be put in place, but also an important process that Ukraine is doing in terms of looking at recovery, development of revision, as we mentioned before, of law, and looking at this dimension. So there is also many aspects that, for instance, in terms of documentation, in terms of how to work in risk preparedness, that are mutually opportunity for learning also for internationals, and other countries. And indeed, this is something that it's very important to also highlight, that it's not only in one direction, but it's a very joint work. Many international organizations are not used to work in this complexity. So we are all trying and also striving not to find the tune and to see how better we can respond to an evolving situation in the domain. From Italy, in my country, Italy has done an important work in the last years, starting from 1999 to 2004, to achieve a code, unified code for culture and natural asset protection. And that it's, of course, continuously after improved. For instance, in 2005, there was also introduction and also in the code for works of preventive archaeology, so all the aspects related to the requirement of the verification of archaeological relevance of heritage while during and before and while during public works. Since several years there is, in terms of heritage documentation, protection and fighting against illicit trafficking, there is a unit in the Carabinieri, which is an armed police department, unit to look at all crimes related to cultural heritage, which is not operating at a national level, but they are cooperating also with other international bodies and assisting also countries when this is upon request of the countries to track illicit smuggling, but also to document and to put a system in place to work on heritage police system in different countries. And maybe last, in terms of disaster, we have a specific unit working with the civil protection department and fire brigades to activate this immediate protection, respecting the humanitarian life-saving criteria, because first is saving life, and already immediately after there are actions that can be conducted, and a variety of institutions which have, and the universities, research institutions that have by law mandate in a way to cooperate and to support the work of the national authorities in this regard.